Hey, family, we are back with a shot of E&J podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeremy Anato-Mensah.
Eric, what's good?
So we want to get back into this conversation, and we want to go ahead and get started with some of our questions for our guest today.
But before then, we want to give a shout out to Hit Culture Digital, Culture with a K.
With a K.
They've put a great setup here. You've seen some episodes. This setup is definitely an upgrade, and then helping with video and audio, and been great customer service. So shout out to Hit Culture Digital with a K. They're off I-820, so I want to make sure off I-820 off North Richland Hills. So I just want to give a special thanks to them. All right. So like I said, we have Brandon Chase McGee. He is, we mentioned, Senate District Executive Committee, represented Senate District 12. We told you there's 31 Senate districts in Texas. He's one of the committeemen, part of that Senate District Executive Committee, which is the governing body of the Texas Democratic Party. And so we talked about some of the headlines. We'll go into it here. Tell us about the state of the National Democratic Party and State Democratic Party. The Biden, you have the Democrats control the House, the White House. They control the U.S. House, the U.S. Senate. Mm-hmm. But people are like, what's going on? People are like, what's going on? When am I going to get student loan wave? They're waiting for, when are we going to get our Voting Rights Act? And so people are like, what's going on? So tell us the state of the party and how should people react to it? What's going on so far?
I wish it was a simple answer. I want to tell you the state of the party is strong. I do. I know you're laughing. I want to tell you the state of the party is strong. But y'all want me to be honest, right?
100.
Yes, sir.
No BS.
The state of the national party, I think I'm going to give it an incomplete. And I'm going to give it an incomplete because as the Democrats, as you mentioned, as they control the White House and both houses of the legislature, there seems to be a lot of inaction. We've got a couple of Democrats in the Senate who are holding up everything because of their support of a Civil War relic in the filibuster, and that's jamming up a lot of stuff that could help us. So I have to give them an incomplete at best.
So no F.
There's still some more time, so I'm not ready to give them an F, but I'll be the first to tell you I'm a proud Democrat. I'm very thankful to the good people in Denton and Tarrant County for bestowing this honor upon me to represent them, and I think they did that because they know I'm going to be honest. I'm going to keep it real. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm struggling with the National Party right now. I'm struggling with the National Party. People are literally dying. Mm-hmm. People's right to vote are being stripped of them. Healthcare has still not been expanded in many of the states. As you mentioned, student debt is crushing us, particularly black and brown people. Mm-hmm. I'm struggling with them right now. We gave those folks a mandate to lead. And I don't see any leadership. I see a lot of excuses. I see a lot of bickering back and forth. I see the House blaming the Senate. I see the Senate blaming the House. Last time I checked, there's 2 people in the Senate that's jamming us up for everything. The focus should be on them to make sure that they move so we can get some stuff done. For the state level, the Texas Democratic Party is stronger than it's been in years. I'm very proud of this party, the work that's being done under our chair, Gilberto Hinojosa. Mm-hmm. We recently put in 2 co-executive directors, Jamar Brown and Hannah Robeck. I think they're doing a great job leading the party. I'm very proud to work with the most active SDEC that the party has ever had. Mm-hmm. My colleagues and I, we are working diligently daily to make sure that we organize this party in a way that we can all be proud of. For a long time, our party has taken us for granted. We can agree about that, right? We are the base of the party, particularly black women are the base of the party. But I don't know what we're getting for that support. Oftentimes the blind support that we give our Democratic Party. It's our job who organize the party to make sure this party stands up to what it's supposed to do. And I'm in Austin to make sure that young people and black and brown people and differently abled people and Hispanic people can make sure we get what's ours because we support this party more than any other group. And our lives are riding on the legislation of the people that the people are going to pass who are supported by this party.
So what's your thoughts on this quorum? So we talked about earlier the fact that the Texas Democrats left, because they were fighting against this voting rights bill, which I commend them for.
Absolutely.
And in full disclosure, I voted Democrat, I think, pretty much since I was able to vote.
Let's give the people, though, let's tell the people, why did they leave?
Yeah.
So why did the legislators leave the state of Texas? Yeah. What was that about?
Yeah. But and so why? And so part of it is, and Brendan can add details to it. This is all tied to the GOP putting out what they want to call election integrity bill within the state house, but Democrats look at it as a voter suppression bill. Mm-hmm. They were worried about how adjusting to early voting hours. The concerns about the bill is about limiting and putting restrictions on mail voting, vote by mail, requiring ID, or what Harris County doing. They did 24-hour voting. Now it's getting rid of that. Yeah. Getting rid of drive-through voting.
Got rid of that.
And so you got people who have disabilities who are like, hey, I depend on drive-through voting or curbside, drive-through voting, and now that you're taking that away. Mm-hmm. And so Harris County took some new initiatives that were help spearheading that, and those bills are restricting it. So there are people who are people of color, there are a lot of those Democrats left, and they're frustrated because they felt like the bill is going to be restrictive. And so I commend them for that. Full disclosure, I'm a person who pretty much vote Democrat. I mentioned, for those who don't know, I am part of like a Democratic organization and club organizations, and I voted Democrat. But on this podcast, our job is to keep it also 100 on both sides. Yeah. And so I wanted to get your thoughts on it because it went from Democrats in unison, at least in the House, Texas House, say we're going to D.C. We're going to push and advocate for Voting Rights Act, right? To now, maybe 2 went to Portugal. We don't know if that's true or not. And then you got some of them. They're probably people are starting to question whether some of them are truly fighting for votes right bill, and then some of them are starting to gradually come back to the House here and there. And now you're hearing reports that they have enough numbers. So, and not only that, by the way, in the past week or two, you've seen one Democrat come out. I think it was like Representative Ana Ramos, I believe, reportedly was going on Twitter. Scrutinizing Democrats like Joe Moody and others who've come back to the chamber, and so there seemed like major division publicly, which is unfortunate. And I think I'm worried about it losing momentum. So I'm carrying on, but I want to get your thoughts on the Democrats.
Well, I will first say, I hope everybody's being safe out here in these Delta-filled streets. I know that
too, yeah.
Most of us have not had a vacation in a year and a half. Yeah. So shout out allegedly to our two who might have went to Portugal. Lisbon's nice. I'd like to go to Portugal too. Allegedly. Look, it's complicated. They broke quorum and now they slowly started to come back. I too applaud them for going. They needed to go. These bills are going to do a lot to hurt Black and brown people, young people, differently abled people, those rights to vote. And that's awful. But we know that all good things come to an end. When they were there, they spent every waking day lobbying our federal officials on Capitol Hill so that they could do the right thing. Again, particularly Senators Manchin and Sinema of West Virginia and Arizona, respectively, so that they can vote to get rid of the filibuster and make sure and pass these two voting reform bills that are making their way to the Senate. They had meeting after meeting after meeting, getting legislators on their side. Texas is already the hardest state to vote in the entire country. We know what Republicans are doing. Republicans cheat. Let me just be honest about it. They can't win none on their own, so they have to cheat. They see what's happening, and they see that the country is becoming less white. The country is becoming less old. The country is becoming much more diverse. And that doesn't bode well for a party that has always hung its hat on conservative principles, which really are not conservative at all, a la white supremacy. Mm-hmm. So let's just be real and call it what it is. You put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig, right? At some point, we knew they had to come back.
It's just the division.
The division in the party doesn't bother me. The beautiful thing about our party is that we are a big tent. What's great about this party as opposed to that party is that this party has something for everybody in it. Everybody can come over here and get some. We celebrate the diversity of opinions, the diversity of ideas, the diversity of solutions to fix particular problems.
Oh, do we though? Hold on now. Let's stop it right there.
Okay.
Do Democrats really embrace the progressives, for instance, the AOCs and others that are coming to the fold now and that are, pushing for more progressive policies. They're pushing for an agenda that is more inclusive. Or are the Democrats still controlled by the corporate Democrats, your Joe Bidens, your Barack Obamas, who really, if we go back, a lot of his policies, Barack Obama, that is, not that far from a Mitt Romney, per se, right? So I guess my question to you is, what kind of party is the Democratic Party? Is it really a party of the people, or is it a party where it's like, hey, we got all these people in here, cool, but really we're controlled by a certain group of people within the party?
I'm going to tell you what the Democratic Party should be. The Democratic Party should be what black women tell it to be. Black women are the base of the party. It should be what they tell it to be. I hear you. I don't really subscribe to those labels. I don't know what a progressive, what a moderate is. I know people who get stuff done. Representative Ocasio-Cortez is speaking to a large swath of people, and she's getting stuff done. I'm looking at someone who people would say is a more moderate person, perhaps a Chris Coons of Delaware, who's also getting stuff done. Yeah, I think we are a party that is a Big Ten party where everybody can come and be representative. The difference is at least you can have the conversation over here. Go over there and try to have a different opinion, see what they do to you. Shout out to Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney, who basically are getting kicked out of the party and ostracized just because they actually want to tell the damn truth. So, yeah, you can't get that over there. Unfortunately, if you want to be over there, good luck. You have to come over here because we're willing to listen to the ideas. Yeah, there are some extreme people in our party. That whole party is extreme. Good luck with them. It is incumbent upon us in our party to make sure that we provide a home base for everybody to come, and let's get messy, but let's get the best solution possible for the most number of people possible, and let's move forward.
Yeah. So my thing is this with the party. We've all followed politics in some form or fashion. My issue with the Democratic Party, one of my issues is, and like I said, is the fact that the narrative sucks. I mean, we've seen it over past decades. The narrative to convince and compel people to come out and vote is not great. I mean, they were holding, the narrative of 2020 is really getting rid of Trump, but you're not telling me what you're bringing to the table.
Right.
And so my thing is for black folks, when we're speaking to black folks here, part of our podcast to educate black folks, what's the narrative? Like what is the narrative that the party can do going forward to compel and get more black folks? Because it cannot be simply, hey, black folks, go vote D all the way on the ballot and come out and vote Go ahead.
I'll do you one better. And in the same line, what are the Democrats doing to address issues specifically to the black community? Not for minorities, not for Hispanics, not for the LGBTQ community. And mind you, all of those communities, I'm with them in the sense that I get that we're fellow minorities, and so there are going to be things that help us all, understandably so. But there's got to be an outreach, a program, an agenda to address the needs of black people. So what is, and I say that right, the Democratic Party, Texas, federally, all across the board, what are they doing for black folks?
I mean, within both the national party as well as the state party, respectively, there are two really great organizations that are carrying the torch for black folks in America and the state of Texas. The Congressional Black Caucus and the Texas Legislative Black Caucus.
Okay.
Both these organizations are doing a lot to help us in terms of education. You've got Congresswoman Maxine Waters, who is heading the Banking and Financial Services Committee, who's really trying to work to reform things like redlining at the basic level so that they don't happen. We appreciate her for doing things like that. Here locally, you have a lot of the Texas reps that are, as we mentioned, fighting hard to make sure that they can expand, not just maintain, but expand access to the ballot box, because they know that people who look like us, our ancestors, died for us to have the right to vote, and that is important. So there are a litany of things that are happening specifically for black people. I take your point. Look,
come on, Brandon. What can be done? What would you give to recommendation? What would you give as a recommendation to the party right now on ways they can improve their narrative? Because the narrative right now is lazy. And I will tell anyone in the face, what can they do to improve the narrative to get more black folks to say, you know what, I'm proud to be a Democrat. It's not, oh, man, I didn't like Trump, so I guess I got to go for Biden.
Look, you can't challenge me on the narrative of the Democratic Party. I'm a Democratic official, and I don't know what the damn message is either. In 2020, we know it was Build Back Better. Okay? That was the president's message.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is now. You're right. We suck at messaging. We have some people who are frankly out of touch with the changing demographics of America, sitting in a bunch of rooms with folks who don't look like us, pushing a message out to us that clearly ain't hitting home. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've got to break up the good old boy network even within our party. If all the consultants are white men, if all the campaign staff are white men, if the people at the table at the upper echelons of the party are also white men in many states, yeah, that's a problem. If the big donors are also white men, that's a problem. We have to diversify this party at every level. It can't just be at the base of voting. So yeah, our party absolutely has some issues, but I'm thankful again. I'm speaking for Texas.
Yep.
My colleagues and I on the executive committee are working really hard to make sure we do the work. We've done focus focus testing in the state to see which messages have hit home. Particularly, my colleague in Senate District 12, Diana Branson, who is really working hard to find messaging that is North Texas specific and Denton and Tarrant counties, messaging that is going to hit home for people who feel like they're lost, they're being left behind, they're being marginalized. We're working. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Do we have some issues? Hell yeah, we got some issues. But again, we're working every day, and we are the only party that's at least fighting to get it right. I don't know what they're doing other than still trying to follow their ex-president.
So then in that case, we talk about the other side. Yeah, there's some concerns on the other side, on the Republican Party, about their messaging.
What is their message?
I don't know.
Okay.
So but you got figureheads or you got faces like Tim Scott.
I was going to say there is a strong argument that they've actually put in more. They, as in the Republicans, have put in more blacks in leadership positions than Democrats have. There's an argument to be made there that they've sort of pushed, that image of black folks in a certain way. Now, have they actually done anything? No, because in effect, Tim Scott is a glorified water boy. But
it does bring the question: is the better path for black folks? Because I'm tired of people saying black folks. Black folks are not a monolith. Okay, so people got to quit saying all black folks support Democrats. Stop it. We know black folks. We all go to church that has conservative values, have conservative beliefs, and so let's quit thinking the idea of Democrats black folks all for Democrats. Stop it. So we got people like Tim Scott, for example. What is actually a better path? Is it the Tim Scott route? I come right in. There's not enough of me, but I'm going to use my influence to better the good of our people. Remember, he's come from a poor background. Some of his background is relatable to some people say, quite a few black folks.
He said he went from cotton to Congress, didn't he?
Cotton to
Congress. That's what he said.
Cotton to Congress. So is the better path try to go through his path or try to convince the Democratic Party, even though you feel like time after time they're taking you for granted?
I appreciate y'all asking me tough questions on the podcast, trying to get me in trouble. It's okay. It's okay. Look, again, I'm honest and I'm consistent. What I'm going to say might make some folks in my party uncomfortable, but I'm going to tell the truth because I got to sleep at night. Senator Scott, for me, is problematic. But having said that, again, a hard line for me is I don't go after other black folks. I'm not doing that. Okay. I'm not going to attack Senator Scott. Again, some of the policies that he supports are problematic. The most problematic part about Senator Scott for me is them judges, them damn unqualified white nationalists and white supremacist judges. I have questions about them. Yeah, I don't know how you could be a black man in this country and vote for every one of them judges.
He did stop one of the judicial appointments, remember?
What did the former president get? 200? So with a
199. I'm just saying I was gonna give him credit there.
Now, I'm just a truck driver. If I did the math, 199 and 200, those are still. I think that's an A, right? That's still an A, right?
Okay.
I think. Let me just close with this. I think. I don't know what the answer is. Yeah, I'm very familiar with that party of Lincoln strategy, where enough of us need to go over there and hijack the party. Yeah. Ultimately, I want us to win. I can't tell folks what's right and what's wrong. I have chosen to fight over here and make this party more representative of us. If someone else has a different way to do it, particularly joining that party and really fighting for the interests of us, I'm not going to tell them they're wrong. I'm sorry, I'm not. Their walk is just different than me. I support all of us, and as Issa Rae said, I'm rooting for everybody black.
Okay.
I'll just say this about that. I think really when we look at, the plight of the black Republican, Tim Scott, Condoleezza Rice, J.C. Watts, the list goes on and on.
You remember
right?
J.C. Watts?
Oh, man, J.C.
Could throw a mean spiral.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oklahoma.
Yep.
Fourth ranking House Republican at the time before he resigned.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think what happens is that they look across the aisle, right, and they see this sense of apathy amongst Democrats who they probably do, share a lot of ideals with, right? Mm-hmm. But also they're looking at, the Republican side and saying, we have a lot of conservative values. A lot of us are from, heavy Christian Baptist backgrounds.
As am I.
Right. And so that actually plays to the Republican side, right? Mm-hmm. Because if you're looking at that and you're saying, wait a minute, I was raised in this, with traditional Christian values, and then you go over to the Democratic Party and they're not necessarily embracing it. I wouldn't necessarily say they're pushing it away, but they're not embracing it. And then also you feel like, you know what, they just really taking me for granted at the end of the day, right? Then you come to the conclusion that maybe I should try something different. Maybe let's give it a try, right? Because one of the problems that we have for sure as black people is that we are definitely we lean more towards the Democrats, right? If you look at the Hispanic community, they are kind of spread evenly in a lot of cases. And so it gives them more leverage. So how do we solve that problem? Now I want to be clear. I'm not saying go out and vote Republican because first of all, I don't get with none of the parties. I know you guys are party guys, but I'm not at all. Not Democrats, not Republican, not Green Party, not
none of that.
Because I think it's all.
We're going to put him on the prayer list tonight.
I think it's all. We're
going to pray for him.
A farce. But what I'm saying, what I'm at the end of the day, what I'm getting at is it not a reasonable strategy, right, to think about ways to leverage the Republican Party for what black people need? Is that not reasonable?
Here's the easiest answer I'm going to give you all night. Yes. Okay. I think you said it perfectly. Look, again, I want us to win. The truth is black folks do better when we have eggs in multiple baskets. Right. I would never say everybody black need to come over here. The truth is some of us need to go over there. Some of us need to go over there and fix that. Yeah. Like, that's a hot mess.
Yeah, it is.
It's a damn shame.
Hot mess. Yeah.
We need to go over there. We need to fix that party.
Yeah.
I think we could honestly, any space that black folks are in, we provide a moral center to it. And they have no morality.
None.
I saw their last president. They have no morality. Having said that, I get real uncomfortable when we talk about our Christian values leading us to the more conservative party. I don't see none Christian in them. Like I don't see any Christian behavior in them. Shout out to the Beatitudes; they literally have none of them. All 10 of those commandments, they break them regularly, like regularly. While they think that they have a lease on Christianity, they don't for me. My Bible says treat others as you want to be treated. I don't see that happening at all over there. Yeah. My Bible says the way that you judge others is going to be the way that you are judged. Yeah, I would caution them to be careful on that. Christian and that party. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I don't know what Bible they're reading, but in the Bible I'm reading, I'm uncomfortable going into a church every Sunday that is very homogenized. Remember, Dr. King said the most segregated hour of America is 11 a.m. on Sunday. Yep. I'm uncomfortable going into a church that's got a flag, a Christian flag, and an American flag right behind the pulpit. I didn't even know there was a Christian flag. Did you?
No.
Why is there an American flag in the pulpits over there? The marriage of nationalism and religion is dangerous in this country. I'm not going to participate in that.
I got you.
Go ahead.
But this is going we end that. So we got to get to our break. And so, this is really good. We appreciate being 100. But we're going to, after our break, we're going to talk about COVID and mask mandates. We want to get your thoughts on what's going on around this country. So
I have thoughts.
So please stay tuned with us, and we'll be back. Stay tuned with us with a shot of EJ. Okay. All right, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to a Shot of E&J podcast. I'm Eric Igwe.
And I'm Jeremy Anato-Mensah.
We have our special guest, Brendan Chase McGee, Senate District Executive Committeeman number 12, representing the Senate District 12. Mentioned the SDEC is the governing body of the Texas Democratic Party, and he's on that body. So we've had an entertaining conversation so far. Appreciate you keeping it candid at 100. And so now I know Jeremy wants to go into, we talked about COVID and mask mandates.
Yeah, so Brandon, you've seen everything that's going on with COVID and the mask mandates that are coming down, or the challenge to them rather, when you have in particular school districts that are trying to mandate that students, teachers, and other professionals should be wearing masks at all times. And we've seen the pushback from Governor Greg Abbott, and then we've also seen it in Florida. We've seen it in a couple of different states. So my question, I guess, the global question is, what are your thoughts about that? And why have the mask mandates been so political up to this point?
I want to know.
So local control is something that should be important to all of us. We elect locally elected officials that come from our neighborhood, our community, our city, because they best know how to govern our neighborhoods, communities, and cities. I don't want to live in a Texas where there are some unelected bureaucrats appointed by the governor that are deciding everything for a state that has 29 million people in it. Texas is too big, too vast, too diverse to have one central location of power deciding everything for us. Local control is important. I absolutely believe that local cities, local counties, and local school boards should be able to govern themselves. And if that means putting in place mask mandates, then they should be able to do it. I personally am absolutely in favor of mask mandates. And I'll tell you why. I know that the McGee family is not special, but particularly in my life, one of my aunts just made her transition this morning. Due to this variant. I have another aunt sitting in Carrollton Regional right now due to this variance. This is no joke. Playing with our kids' lives is no joke. And the truth is that the private schools, they're doing it and they're fine. But ye old public schools are the ones that, we must listen to the governor and we can't govern ourselves. All day long, that's wrong, and everybody knows it. He knows it too. Shout out to the governor who also has COVID right now. And we pray for
Governor Abbott, right?
Governor Abbott. Okay. And we pray for a speedy recovery. Thoughts and prayers. We should be able to govern ourselves. I believe in mask mandates. In the city of Denton, I'm very proud of the city where I live. I'm very proud of the city council that is majority liberal leaning. They voted 5-2 in favor of putting in place a mask mandate. That was the right thing to do. The truth is that the science is clear. Doctors, experts have told us that if simply 10% more people would wear masks, we could slow the spread of this thing. 10%. It's worth it just for that. Yeah, the mask is uncomfortable. Yeah, the mask sucks. But you know what sucks more? Being intubated. That's a bit more invasive than putting on a mask. We wear clothes on every part of our body that is deemed appropriate, right? I'm putting cloth over my arms. I have cloth over my backside. I can't go into a restaurant without having clothes on and expect service. This mask should be no different. It's not that serious. You've got people out here that are claiming my body, my choice. Well, I appreciate that, and I agree with that. I was so inspired by my conservative friends showing up at Denton City Council and Denton ISD school board meetings saying my body, my choice. I was so inspired by them, realized that they were right. So earlier this week, I made a donation to Planned Parenthood of Texas. Because they're right. It should be our body, and our choice is what to do with our body. If governing bodies want to put in place a mask mandate, I support it. I think at last count, it's about 56 local municipalities, that school boards, cities, counties that have voted to buck the governor's order and put in place mask mandates. I'm very proud of every one of them, and I'm thankful that they are showing the leadership that is so lacking in Austin.
So with things going on in the state, you've seen that the back and forth, it's chaos. I mean, across the nation. I mean, we talk about, let's look into Texas. You have the local jurisdictions trying to push forward. The governor has his order. The local jurisdiction, the cities are pushing back, and counties are pushing back. And then now you have Texas Supreme Court come in and intervene, standing by Greg Abbott.
Of course they will.
And so, there's talks about maybe President Biden might do something. Should President Biden intervene? How far should the federal government go to ensure that students and people, especially kids in school and teachers and who are part of teacher unions, are protected?
States' rights is a red herring. We in our community, we know what states' rights mean.
Yeah.
Throughout our history, it has been the federal government that has come in and has stopped the states from doing all kind of atrocities to us. They have protected us. Absolutely, President Biden should do everything within his power to keep us safe. That is his job as president, to keep us safe. I will defer to the legal experts to figure out what he can and what he can't do, but I believe he should do everything. I believe he should throw everything at the wall, and then let's fight it out in court and let them tell us that we can't do that. And it's no use that the Texas Supreme Court sided with our governor. Yeah, our Texas Supreme Court is heavily Republican. They might all be Republican.
I think it's all Republicans.
Okay, they're all Republicans.
Yes.
Nathan Heck, who's the Chief Justice, of course they're going to side with the governor.
And they respond on Sundays too. I didn't know that.
Yeah, when you have folks on speed dial like that, they'll do whatever you want.
I really want to follow up with a question about the vaccine, but we'll save that. We'll say that.
Yeah.
So do we want to circle back to our discussion on politics?
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
So I want to ask you a question. I'm going to go off the top here. I want to ask you a question about the Congressional Black Caucus, right? So Congressional Black Caucus is, I guess we could say, a collection of legislators, if you will, right?
Mm-hmm.
House of Representatives and senators, or no, correct me if I'm wrong.
Just the one senator.
Yeah, right.
Senator Cory Booker.
Right. Who are, advocating and pushing for an agenda that's going to help black people,
sure.
Right? Whether it's economic issues, issues dealing with education, issues of criminal justice, healthcare, all those type of things, right? And one of the things when you go back and you look at the history, right, the Congressional Black Caucus was really on the front lines of pushing back against the government, right? Mm-hmm. We saw it with who is this? I'm thinking of Shirley Chisholm, and when they took the stand against Nixon to really hold Nixon's feet to the fire with civil rights. We saw it with the National Black Political Convention in the 1970s, what they did in terms of the Black Declaration of Independence, the Black Bill of Rights, right? What are they doing now? Because we know about some of the things that they're doing now and their agenda and their initiatives, but what are they doing for the average black person to know, right? And how is this being communicated? It kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier about, what's the narrative? And I think, that question has to be answered in order for, a more cohesive strategy with black politicians and just the black electorate to be attained. Yeah. So what's going on with the CBC? Talk to me.
But as you answer that question, tell people what the CBC is, because not everybody knows what the CBC is. Educate people on what the
CBC, the Congressional Black Caucus, is made up of, I believe, last count, 55 black men and women who have been elected to Congress. All 54 of them are in the House, and just the one in the Senate.
Right. That's
Cory Booker is the only representative from the Senate.
Tim Scott's not allowed?
Tim Scott is absolutely allowed. Tim Scott has chosen not to join the Congressional Black Caucus for whatever reason. I think that, in full disclosure, a couple of years ago, I was blessed enough to do a fellowship with the Congressional Black Caucus. Okay. So I do love this organization. I think that they're doing a lot to help us. So, but you mentioned, are they getting the message out? It is those men and women's job to represent everybody in America Black, not just the 800,000 or so members in their districts. They have to represent all of us. They're really pulling double duty. My congressman, Michael Burgess, only has to represent his Congressional District 26 in Texas. We place a lot on the shoulders of our legislators, and I think that they're doing the best they can with what they have. I'm very proud of the work that they're doing. And they're doing just what you said, working on healthcare, working on economic issues, working hard on criminal justice reform. But to your point, there are valid criticisms of what they're doing. They don't get the message out. You and I have to go look for the information.
Yes, we do.
That they are doing stuff because the message is not being disseminated widely like it should be. So here in North Texas, we have two members of the Congressional Black Caucus. We have Congressman Mark Vesey and we have Congressman Colin Allred. Mm-hmm. If you live in those districts and you're on those email lists, you're getting what they're doing, and some of what CBC is doing is mixed in there. But I would agree the CBC probably needs to step up their digital game because, again, this is the way the world is working, their social media game. Yeah, they do. I think that they probably could do a better job of being more visible. I would love to see a member of the CBC working them Sunday talk shows every Sunday. Yeah. I'm sick of seeing folks from the Freedom Caucus. Yeah, I think that there are some valid criticisms of the CBC and how they're getting the message out, but I don't think the criticism of what they're doing is fair. They're doing a lot. Again, Congress is a legislative body. You have to work with everybody else in order to get something passed. You need, 218 votes in the House? And then for most things, you need 60 votes in the Senate. So that's a tough threshold in order to get things passed. Again, this is why we were talking about getting rid of the filibuster. Mm-hmm. It should be a simple majority. The filibuster is a relic of a time when slaves were widely held, enslaved people were widely held in this country. We need to get rid of the filibuster. I think if we do that, we will see more things come out of the Congressional Black Caucus, get to the floor of the House, get passed in the House, get passed in the Senate, and then they get to Joe Biden's desk, and I think he'll sign those things.
What does 2022 look like for Democrats, particularly Black Democrats? So we follow politics, especially in Texas. There's never been a Black governor.
Nope.
Black lieutenant governor. We can't get, hard to get Black folks in Supreme Court, even one. I mean, a lot of these judicial seats. So what's 2022 looking like for Democrats, especially Black Democrats? Because I feel this, I commend the efforts of many organizations, even organizations I'm part of, that are really fighting to try to increase the turnout, get more Black folks to vote, and continue to get more Black Democrats. But what is the like I said, I want to get your views on what is the prospects for Black Democrats in Texas for 2022.
I'm supposed to tell you that 2022 looks promising for Democrats. Can I stop there? Can I just say that and we'll be done? Or y'all gonna really want me to tell the truth?
Go ahead.
If the U.S. Senate doesn't get off their ass and get rid of this filibuster and get some stuff passed, 2022 is going to be a massacre for Democrats across the country. State of Texas is included. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
It ain't looking good for Democrats of all colors, of all stripes. We've got to get these two voting rights bills passed.
And can you give details of the voting rights bills for people who don't know?
So I believe it's SB 1 and HB 4, Senate Bill 1 and House Bill 4, the For the People Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. We've got to get both these things passed in tandem because those things are going to put in place national standards for voting in every single state in the country. And that is essentially protecting the rights of Black and brown people to be able to vote with convenience, to stay on voter rolls. These things are important for us. We've got to get this passed in order for us to have a chance. It's just that simple. I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that we are at an inflection point in America. The future of our country rides on what happens in the Senate in the next couple of months.
No, it does. I'm not going to sit here and lie. It does. And, we talk about the John Lewis Voting Rights Bill. For those who don't know, It's a bill that just got introduced. I mean, it's by Representative Sewell, Alabama. I think she introduced it on Edmund Pettus Bridge, and so they're going to start bringing it to the legislator, and that's a big important bill because that adds pre-clearance. And so for people to understand, I think it was back in 2013, Shelby versus Holder case. It struck down the Voting Rights Act because in 1965 you had the Voting Rights Act in place. And so part of the Voting Rights Act that got struck down is pre-clearance. And pre-clearance essentially allows the DOJ, the Department of Justice, to review if states have behavior of racial discrimination or changing voting laws that adversely affects people of color and others.
Particularly those states that have a history of discrimination against black and brown voters. Sure, they have to go and get clearance.
Exactly.
Sure.
They will have to get clearance through the Department of Justice before their voting maps, any changes to voting maps or voting laws are in place. So that got struck down in 2013. 2013. And so, because part of the courts felt like this, they felt like the formula needed to be updated. They felt like the formula that made the determination on which states should face pre-clearance needed to be struck down. So this bill is going to update the formula for that and to allow for and put new requirements on whether states should have to comply with the Voting Rights Act. Comply with pre-clearance and have their maps approved through the DOJ or any changes to the voting law or voting maps, because we're in the midst of redistricting. You just got census data coming out. So if we have Voting Rights Act, the John Lewis Voting Rights Bill right now, pre-clearance, if Texas went and read and say, you know what, we're going to create the maps this way, our legislator, and say we're going to create the maps this way that tends to adversely affect people of color, and the formula says they have a history of that, that means they're going to have to get their maps blessed through the DOJ.
Again, we talked about it earlier. We have depended on the federal government to protect us from the shady things that the state governments are trying to do. Again, states' rights is a red herring for us, and we know that in our community more than most.
Yes.
So as I sit here and listen to this conversation, it's a couple of things that come to mind. So you mentioned Voting Rights Act, 1965. We're 2021. We are, over 30 years removed from the original cornerstone legislation that was supposed to guarantee everybody's right to vote. And now we're 2021 and we're still essentially having the same conversation. Before it was about literacy tests. Now it's about voter ID, right? And election fraud. Oh, there's so much election fraud, voter fraud, all that kind of crazy stuff. So, and this is the trouble I have with talking to, black people about, get out and vote, get out and support your political candidates, do whatever to be a part of the political process, when I feel like things haven't changed. It's like things are changing to remain the same, right? So from the nationalist perspective in me, the Malcolm in me, the Nat Turner, the Marcus Garvey is like, F the system. Because the system is failed. It's failed, and I really don't see it actually working because now, and I hear what you're saying. You're saying, hey, we got to get this bill passed. We got to get this bill passed. But you know what they did in 1965? We got to get this bill passed. We got to get this bill passed. This is an inflection point. Everything you just said has already been played before. So it's tough for me. I'm not sitting here and trying to tell black people don't vote or don't participate. But I get frustrated when I hear this talk because it's like, my God, like, damn, are we in a time machine? You know what I'm saying? Like, are we in a time machine? Yeah. Like, we are still having the same conversation, literally.
But Jeremy, Coretta Scott King reminds us that the battle for civil rights must be fought every single generation.
Well, that's the problem, though, right? I mean, should we have to fight the same battle every generation? Or so is America really progressing? And I have a point to all this. I know you're like, where's he going with this? But is America really progressing and living up to the expectations and changing? Because that's what they sell us when Barack Obama was talking about hope and all this. That's what Biden was selling us, right? That's what y'all sell. That's what y'all parties sell.
Is America really changing?
Yeah, that's what y'all parties sell though. And so now I'm telling you, okay, you want black people to get out here and vote for these bills so that everybody's life can change, right? Is that really going to happen? Is that really going to happen?
I don't think our party is selling hope and change the way you put it. I think our party is actually selling common sense solutions for everyday, average, hardworking people. I think our party, that's what our party is selling. That's what our party represents. But yeah, look, 2042 is coming. 2042 is coming.
Absolutely.
And it is incumbent upon us to be ready for it. Yeah, the country is changing. It sucks that we have to keep fighting these battles again. But it's hard to kill the devil. The truth is, you do everything you can, but it's hard to kill the devil. The devil keep coming back around. We must continue to fight these battles. The fight alone is righteous, so we got to keep fighting.
So what is? And then I know we're getting ready to close soon. What are some things to? So if I'm, like I said, Jeremy was talking about Republican Party. They got a lot of energy. Their messaging narrative is on point. But, they're not really, they are say some stuff that's racially insensitive. And I'm like, as a black person, yeah, it's racism. Let's call what it is. And then, on the Democratic Party end, they talk about common sense stuff. But damn, 30 years go by, 20 years go by, and we're like, do we see any progress? I mean, or we feel like we hear elements of the party. Hey, just go for Democratic across the ballot. Don't worry about why. Don't worry about the candidate. So
who's saying that?
Many Democrats. Come on now.
Yeah.
So, a lot of messaging.
let me tell you this. As a Democratic official, the Democrats that's telling you to vote up and down the ballot, but not telling you what you're voting for or who you're voting for, don't vote for them. That's not the kind of Democrat I am. I can tell you exactly what I want you to vote for and how it's going to help your life.
Oh, yeah.
And anybody that can't do that, don't vote for them.
That's what some were mad
in
about.
Every party.
But that's why some were mad that the straight ticket voting got away, because that was they wanted the easy button. They wanted them to hit the button and say vote all Democrat. Don't worry about why. Just vote D. We got your back.
One of the biggest advantages of straight ticket voting is that it made the voting process so quick. People have to take time to vote. It takes time to vote. You have to get off work early. You might have to drive to a different part of your community because polling locations near your house have been closed. The state of Texas has closed how many hundred in the past several years? Voting requires work. You might have to find additional childcare, which costs money and also costs time to be able to go vote. You might work third shift. For 7 years, I worked overnight. So yeah, it was difficult for me to interrupt my sleep during the day to get up and go and vote early. Everybody doesn't get off on election day. We're asking people to take the time to vote. So if we're going to do that, I believe we have a responsibility to make it worth their while in terms of what we're going to do for them with the power that they will bestow upon us when we win the elections. I'm sorry that we have to keep fighting these battles. Look, what we are experiencing right now in this country is the last gasp of a dying breed. 2042 is coming. They have seen the numbers. They have seen.
I don't know about
Jeremy,
that.
they have seen the numbers. They know what's coming.
But we got to be careful. Just because you assume that the white population won't be no longer become a majority in 2042 does not mean all the problems are resolved.
No, it absolutely does not.
So I think we got to be cautious. Thinking there may be some optimism, but we got to be cautious because there's complexities in each each race, each ethnicity. It's not going to be that simple. And as long as you got money and power
my greatest hope that the racism in that party is going to die out with many of them. That's my greatest hope. We just sat here and talked about the biggest obstacle to many of us going over there is it's not even covert, the overt racism and nationalism that is present in that party. True. My hope is that the browning of America will take some of that away. Again, I think this is the last gasp of a dying breed.
Okay, so I'm going to go with you on that. Here's what I think is going to happen.
Come on.
In the next 20, 30 years. I think the Republican Party will be phased away. I think the Republican Party will eventually die, especially if they fail to change their branding, their marketing right now.
They didn't read the autopsy that Reign's previous commission, did they?
No, they didn't.
No,
he told them the plan.
It was too many pages.
But hold on, no. But wait a second. Just wait for it. What's going to happen is that your Democratic Party that's so diverse right now, that has so many different the demographics are so varied and they have people from so many different backgrounds, that party is going to split. And so you're going to have the Republican Party in shape and form by Democrats and also other Republicans that have defected to the more conservative Democratic Party. And that's what we're going to be facing as opposed to the Republican Party, right? Same devil, different name. That's what it's going to be. So, I mean, I agree with you. 2042 demographics are changing. America's browning and all of that. That's all well and good. I still don't know, though, if these solutions are really going to, I don't know if they really are going to make the difference long term. And if they are, I agree with you. It's worth fighting for. Definitely worth fighting for. Definitely worth pursuing. I just don't want us to be in a situation where 2050, 2060 is some 3 black men, or black women, or whomever having the same conversation. Like what are we doing?
If we don't want to be having the same conversation 50 years from now that we're having today, then more of us got to show up and vote. More of us have to show up and vote in our local community. The biggest misconception socially in America is that voting for president matters more than voting for your school board member.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Forget the president. Like, let them folk do what they're going to do.
Yep.
Show up and vote for your school board. Matter of fact, run for school board.
Right.
Run for your local sheriff.
We mentioned this. Yep.
How many black folks are sitting in police departments around the country? Some of them need to run for sheriff.
Yep. District attorney.
District attorney.
Yep.
District attorney is the most important, I believe, the most important position that's going to affect the most number of black folks. That district attorney position is important. Yeah. How many black attorneys are there? Go on and run for district attorney. And we need to support people who are running for these local offices that hold our ideals at the center of their campaign targets.
Yes.
That's how we fix this thing. Bottom up. I'm never going to endorse for top down. Bottom up is how we fix this thing in a more sustainable way.
Yep. And so this is great. I mean, this is, we're closing the interview. So, this is, we appreciate the candidates, and this is good because we can go on and on. And by the way, Brandon and I are cool. We talk a lot. We talk a lot. Often every week, and so we have these discussions on the side. And so, Brandon, we appreciate it. What's the best way for people to contact you or check you out? Because you're a very opinionated person. You got a lot of energy and fire. What's the best way for people to check you out?
I appreciate that. I'm on all social media platforms. You can hit me on Instagram. Just search Brandon Chase McGee. On Twitter, you can search me on Twitter, on Facebook. Brandon Chase McGee for Texas. Yeah, I'm pretty visible on social media, so I respond.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about it. If you send me a message, you gonna get me. You gonna get me. You might not like what the response is, but it's gonna be real. It's gonna be honest.
And remember, Brandon Chase McGee, not Brandon McGee.
my mama loved me and saw fit to give me 3 names, so I'm gonna use all 3 of them.
Yes, sir. All right. I mean, this is great. I mean, I love it. This is our first interview, and like I said, you kept it 100. I don't see any sweat around. You good?
No,
you good?
We can do this all night.
On the hot seat,
exactly. So
I appreciate you guys for facilitating this conversation. We need to have more of this in our community. Honest conversations with people around the community, so we can really think.
Yes, sir. We
can really see what they think and how we move forward.
Yep.
I appreciate y'all.
Absolutely, we appreciate you. And that'll conclude it for today. We thank all our viewers. We thank everybody for checking us out. And stay tuned. We'll have some things for the next episode.
Thank you, everyone. Like I said, thanks again to Hit Culture Digital with the K. So thanks, everyone. Tune in to our next episode.